Hello, guys. Welcome back to Adair Thurston's Winning Wednesday. I'm so excited to be here again today with you to talk about Kansas laws. Since we began this program about a month ago, you have seen attorney Brandon Cott and I discussing different issues in immigration and criminal defense work. Today, I am so excited to have joining me my colleague Lisa Ward. Lisa has been an attorney for 23 years, one of the coolest chicks I know, one of the smartest chicks I know too.
I'll pay you later.
She's amazing, and she is the person you want on your side if you have business and corporate formation questions, and if you have important estate planning like wills and trust goals. Lisa can make anything happen when it comes to wills and trusts and farm planning. So Lisa, in addition to being an amazing attorney in all of these areas, does the work also in industrial hemp. She oversees industrial hemp at our law firm, and she is awesome. So I'm going to have her introduce the topic for us. Lisa?
Well, excellent. I've been looking forward to providing some information about the industrial hemp program in Kansas. We've been under a research program here since last year. March 1st of 2018 is when the first license were opened, and we got involved a little before that, learning about hemp and learning how it could be an asset, a cash crop to growers and processors. We have clients that are retailers and so forth. So I was really excited for us to bring this topic today, because the applications are due at the end of this month, and we'd love to help you if you need some help with those applications.
Absolutely. When is the application due, the deadline due?
It's actually due November 30th. So with Thanksgiving holiday coming up, we really want to bring everyone's attention to it and be able to ask any questions of us that you might have today.
I have questions.
Okay, absolutely. We want to be able to answer those, and then also help you with the applications if you need it.
Absolutely. So let's start off with what I imagine is an easy question, especially for you, Lisa. What exactly is industrial hemp?
Okay, well, I'm going to actually read you the definition from the 2018 Farm Bill. So that's the federal Farm Bill. And it says that it defines hemp as the plant cannabis sativa L and any part of the plant with a delta 9 THC concentration of not more than 0.3% by dry weight as industrial hemp. So with the passage of that act, the federal government declassified industrial hemp as a controlled substance as long as it is at or below 0.3 combined THC. And just to clarify, 0.3 THC won't make anyone high. Usually marijuana, which is very similar plant, is sought for that effect, and it's more in the 10% and up THC category.
Okay.
So I get asked that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. That was going to be my question. What is 0.3 THC industrial hemp differ compared to what everybody knows is marijuana, right?
Right.
So that's good to know.
Yeah, and just to clarify, that 0.3 is the line. So if you're above 0.3, that is illegal as marijuana. Although it would take a little bit more than that to make you high, I think.
Right. Well,
Not that I speak from any knowledge.
You said 10%. It would have to have at least 10% to give you that kind of effect.
Yes, that is my understanding and is widely published.
Okay. Now, I've heard of marijuana since I was a kid, so obviously hemp. Has it always been around? Is this similar stuff other than...
Yeah, interestingly enough, it has been. And historically, even the flag that Betsy Ross sewed for our country was made of hemp.
I remember that story.
Yeah, and the original Levi's were made of hemp. Rope for many years has been made of hemp. Even military rope continues to be. The first car that Ford made was hemp and was to be fueled by hemp, both inside and out. BMW still does their interiors from hemp fiber in many ways.
Wow.
So it's always been around. What happened is allegedly there were some powerful families in the paper and petroleum industries that liked the idea of us using gasoline and oil and plastics and paper better than hemp. So by the time the 1970s came around, it was illegal to grow hemp. And in Kansas, we've always had quite a bit of native hemp, feral hemp, you would call it ditchweed. that grows around the areas, and it's been the responsibility of farmers to try to eradicate that. And as many know, that's hard to do.
Right.
The ditchweed's a little bit different than what we're growing for CBD oil, and a little bit different than what's grown for fiber and seed. However, same family, same type of plant.
Okay. So why is there so much attention now on hemp? I mean, is it just because of the federal farm bill, or is the federal farm bill because of something exciting in the hemp world?
Right. So a number of reasons. Hemp's good for the environment. It's good for the soil. It returns to the air what we need. So that's helpful as well. And it's first made its comeback in states like Colorado, Oregon, and Kentucky several years ago. And what we're finding is that it is helpful for our bodies too. We don't necessarily need to get high to have CBD have an effect on pain or our moods. Okay. We have to be careful though, because under the Farm Bill, it gave the FDA, the Food Drug Administration, the right to further regulate production and to regulate marketing of things like CBD. So we have to make sure that when we're marketing CBD, we're not saying things like it reduces inflammation, or it controls anxiety, or it helps with PTSD. We have to make sure we're not saying that perhaps it helps with blood sugar and blood pressure, and can help in cancer situations with brain inflammation. So those are things that are anecdotally noted, but because there hasn't been enough research, that's FDA approved research, when we're marketing those products, we can't say that for sure CBD would do that.
So if I have a CBD company, hiring a lawyer like you who can tell me what to say and not to say can help me get out of trouble for false marketing.
Yeah,
issues.
well, prevent you from trouble is the plan, right? And
Right.
so we've been doing that this year. We have several companies that we represent that have retail products that are amazing, and we like to feature those. But we also make sure that we're careful about what's said on those products. My own family uses them, and I can anecdotally share how it's helped them. Right. But when I'm marketing the product, I have to be careful to talk about things like pain, swelling, and not medical terms.
Even though we know that they are helping in those areas too. Or we may feel...
We've experienced
that. Okay, so you can tell I might be a little pro-hemp. Yeah. Are you involved because you're pro-hemp? And what was your path to becoming pro-hemp?
You know, I'm pro-Kansas, honestly. I'm pro-small town. We had a good experience living in a very small town for 17 years around farming communities, and I'm pro-farm. And I see this as a cash crop that's helpful to Kansas. Farmers that have done well with it this year are experiencing larger profits than they can from other crops. But it's a crop we're learning a lot about. So we also have clients that tried this year some things that were not as successful. That's why it's a research program. The idea is for Kansas to be a great hemp growing state, but we've got to learn everything we can about it. The last time we grew, in large quantities was, World War II. So our farming practices have really changed since then, and now we've got to find out how to mechanically harvest it. It hasn't been easy to do.
I've heard that's hard.
Right. So in our firm, what we've tried to do is sort of be a hub with a lot of spokes. Okay. So we have clients that we represent that are growing seeds and clones, which the clones outside the state at this point in time, but those are cuttings that are then planted to grow into larger hemp plants.
Okay.
They look like small Christmas trees or small bushes, and of course some of the hemp plants are 5 or 6 feet tall. So we've had everywhere from 12-inch plants that our clients have harvested to 6-foot plants this year, a wide variety.
Okay, wow.
Yep.
Now, you said you're pro-Kansas, pro-farm, and pro-small town. That makes me think you feel like hemp is going to be profitable for Kansas.
I do. I think we have to learn the markets as well. So again, that's part of that hub and spoke. We're trying to make sure as we have growers, We also have processors that can process what's grown. We have testing facilities that we represent that can safely test the products. We have custom harvesters we represent that can help harvest those products, whether it be hand or mechanical. And we have companies we represent that are manufacturing products and even retailing them.
Wow.
So I think what's helpful is as we build that farm to family system,
Right.
we would invite other people to be a part of it. We don't intend to promote one grower or to promote one manufacturer or one retailer. We intend to promote CBD, seed, fiber,
Absolutely.
as those things come along. And I might just mention that a lot of attention has been on CBD, right? We've been
Right.
talking
I've
about
been hearing all
creams
about
and
it.
drops and lip balm, and that's all amazing and fantastic. But we also have companies like Legos that are starting to make Legos out of hemp because it's biodegradable.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that
Okay.
great?
Yes.
And mold resistant, and it's not bad for your kids to be around, etc. So Wrangler jeans are being made again with hemp in the fiber.
So that's where you're talking about the
Yes,
fiber, right?
yes.
I had heard about even a hemp house being built.
Yes, yes. We were at a show earlier this year where the insulation, the countertops, the drywall, even the outside exterior were being made with hemp. Now that's
Wow.
a little ahead where we are in industry right now, but we would invite any manufacturer in Kansas to consider using hemp, whether it's Coleman for camping supplies or a countertop manufacturer or a box company. Because it is so renewable and it's less expensive to produce overall. And that market, as the demand continues, will mean more profitability for Kansas farmers.
Absolutely.
We'll get better at what we do in all regards.
Absolutely, I can imagine. Now, let me ask you a question. Let's say that I'm sitting here and I say to myself, I think I will become a hemp processor. What are the steps that I would need to do to get started? Is it just as easy as going to, I like Home Depot, I like East Side, West Side Market, though they're soon to be closing. Is it just as easy to go get the seeds there? Or tell me a little bit about what we need to do to actually get the ball rolling in the industrial hemp industry.
Absolutely. Well, it's still pretty regulated, and it will continue to be regulated even as the USDA puts out their final regs, which they have put out some interim regs. They're hot off the press. For anybody that's trying to look at those are at 7 CFR Part 990, and those just came out October 31st. So our timing's good in this presentation. So right now in Kansas, we're under the Industrial Hemp Research Program, and that makes it sound like the only reason we're growing hemp is for research, that you're going to do a science fair project about how to
Right.
grow hemp
That's
or
what I would-
process hemp,
right.
and you can't sell it. That's not true. You can sell your product. You can
Okay.
process your hemp. It's just as you're doing that, you're responding to the state with the research that you've learned.
Oh,
Does that make sense? Like what variety grew best, or what soil, or whether an ethanol processor or a CO2 processor was easier to use, those kinds of things. So the first step is really that license with the state of Kansas.
Okay.
And that's the one that for 2020, the application period ends November 30th.
Okay.
So we really have to be on the ball with that. Now, there's 3 different licenses that are most applicable to clients that we might have. The first one's the grower's license. And the Kansas would say growers can cultivate, plant, grow, handle, harvest, store, condition, distribute, and transport their own industrial hemp.
Okay.
So all of these things get to be sticky points because as a grower, I can transport my hemp. I cannot transport your hemp.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I might also need a distributor license.
If I'm going to be helping more than one
Yes,
person.
yes.
Oh, okay.
So some of our clients are growing together. Like we might have 7 or 8 clients that are growing 5 acres. And they might be in the southern part of the state or in the western part of the state and want to process here. It might make more sense for them to bring their hemp together in one truckload.
Right.
And a distributor's license is perfect for that because that allows the storage, the conditioning, like drying, stripping, and transporting of hemp. And then there's a processor's license too.
And what is that one for?
So the processors can handle, store, and process industrial hemp. So notice we're still making it to a hemp a farm product. So we're still at a wholesale place.
Okay.
A retailer, a salon, a massage store, chiropractor's office, anything like that doesn't have to have a license under the KDA to sell products.
Okay.
It's just processing the raw product.
So it's the stuff that comes before the little bottle with the oil in it.
Yes.
And if
But-
my goal is that one of those pieces.
So yes, if you're doing a consumable product, you would still have a license through the KDA, but it would be a wholesaler's food processing license.
Oh, okay.
And we can
Do you
help
do
with that
this with
too.
those too?
Oh yeah.
Perfect.
Absolutely. And then you ask, could you just get your seeds at Home Depot?
Right.
No, because they aren't a licensed seller of those seeds.
Okay.
They're not. I mean, theoretically, they probably could have a grower's license and distribute seeds, right? But to date, they aren't doing that. There's also something called an approved list. So not all hemp, industrial hemp, can even be grown in Kansas. There's an approved list that the KDA allows you to grow. And if you want to be outside of that list, then you're asking for special permission, and we can help fill out that information as well.
Okay. Why the limitation, if I may ask?
Well, the department wants to try to help our growers make sure they're growing hemp and not marijuana, for instance, and they're doing all that's necessary to create a product that would be below 0.3 THC.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's not a guarantee by any means, and that's why independent testing is important as we get closer to harvest. We want to make sure we're staying below 0.3 THC, and do you know why?
Because that's other than if it's above 0.3, then it becomes marijuana and it's illegal and it's a criminal situation.
Well,
right?
you have to destroy your crop. You have to
The
destroy your
entire crop?
Right. Everything that is tested hotter than 0.3. So all along the way, we have found that it's been helpful for clients to understand what the next step is, because we're all learning together. So as we got to the harvest season, we're communicating directly with KDA and trying to anticipate some issues with the harvest, because THC levels can go up and down. If a plant is under a lot of stress, that THC can spike, it can come back down again. We had clients who went through a hard freeze with a crop, and we learned that the CBD level didn't change. They just did freeze drying of the crop right in the field and cut it afterwards. So all of these things that we learn, we try to share with our clients. They find that helpful. If a client asks us not to share information, of course we wouldn't do that.
Right. Now, let's talk about the important things that, we know we have the licensing requirement for people who are wanting to grow or process the raw product.
Right.
But what are the important things that a person or business entering hemp production market need to know in addition to the licensing requirements?
You bet. So that question brings us to our Kansas statutes. And last year, in April, our firm was involved in even helping to lobby and involve a lobbyist, someone who is very familiar with hemp and agriculture, to help massage the correct language in the statute that would benefit not only the public that were looking for products, but also the growers as well. So in Kansas, under KSA 23908, and I'm going to read it to you, it's section 5, it's unlawful for any of the following hemp products to be manufactured, marketed, sold, or distributed by any person in the state of Kansas. And let me tell you what those are. Cigarettes containing industrial hemp. So you will find in some states cigarettes that are made of hemp and not nicotine are being used to help people get off smoking nicotine-filled cigarettes.
Okay.
That's a choice that some people are making. You could possess that cigarette, assuming that it's below 0.3. You could not sell, market it, or distribute it.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay.
Cigars containing industrial hemp.
Similar product.
Chew, dip, other smokeless material containing industrial hemp. Tea containing industrial hemp.
Tea, okay.
Teas, liquids, solids, or gases containing industrial hemp for use in vaporizing devices. So vaping, you cannot vape
But
industrial hemp.
but haven't I seen people using industrial hemp vaporizers?
I'm sure you have, because we have the federal law that makes the industrial hemp at 0.3 or below a non-controlled substance. It's not a controlled substance anymore.
Right.
So we even have an Indiana case that came out after the passage of this law, but before today. And it was a federal case, and it's the case of, I'll check my notes here, CY Wholesale Inc. versus Eric Holcomb. And it was reviewing a similar law in Indiana. And you can read the case, but in Indiana, it criminalized dealing in smokable hemp. It provided if people knowingly or intentionally manufactured, delivered, possessed smokable hemp with an intent to manufacture, finance, deliver, that was committing a Class A misdemeanor. And it went on to say it was the federal government's intent in the Farm Bill that nothing under state law preempt their decision that industrial hemp be decriminalized. So we have that to deal with a little bit here in Kansas. I would expect that our firm will be involved in helping that language change if it isn't just automatically changed. The only other thing I wanted to point out, because I think it's important, there's two things. Any hemp product that's intended for human or animal consumption that contains any ingredient derived from industrial hemp that is prohibited pursuant to the Kansas Food and Drug and Cosmetic Act. So if you are going to create a food in Kansas and you're going to put hemp in it, you want to make sure that it's not violating the Kansas Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, and we can help with that. At the federal level, they've okayed foods with hemp hulls and hemp oil. Okay. So that's not CBD.
Hemp oil.
That's something that's going to be similar to your olive oil or your corn oil. You're going to find it in Trader Joe's or Whole Foods in the refrigerated section, because they're still working to stabilize that oil. But it has great nutritional value, but it's not a CBD purpose. Okay.
And so we can't create that in Kansas.
Right. So oftentimes we will have facilities that want to have lemonade with CBD in it, and they can't put the two of them together.
Wait, but
they could sell CBD and lemonade, but putting them together and producing it would violate law as I interpret it.
I see. But isn't, I guess I'm confused about it. Isn't the federal rule, the federal farm bill, make it legal to transfer industrial hemp products across state lines?
Yes. This goes to the marketing and the selling, the manufacturing here in Kansas. So these are all places of nuances that an attorney could definitely help you stay in the clear of. Yeah. So you might see a company form, a Colorado-based company, to sell vape CBD, and a Kansas company to sell CBD tinctures. And both of those might be on Amazon as hemp extracts.
Okay.
And that's just kind of where we are right now, in a state of figuring out where we want hemp to be in our country and what we want to allow and not allow transition, right? And as they say in hemp law, a year in hemp law is like a decade in any other product production. So it's a great time to be, kind of a pioneer, whether it's the equipment of farming, the equipment of processing, or even the products that can be made with it.
So tell me, where does federal law start and state law stop? It seems like there's a lot of overlaps, but from what I'm hearing is that there's some areas that are of concern and why you are doing what you do.
Yeah, so we're in a gelling process is the way I would describe it right now. And it's all happened really fast. The Farm Bill came out in December of last year, so it's not even a year old. And it said that the USDA would promulgate some regulations and that states would have to follow them or they would follow the federal program. If a state wanted their own program, they'd have to have it approved by the USDA. So we fast forward, we've had the research program, but if we want to get into a commercial program, then it has to be approved. Well, just this week, we came out with the interim USDA regulations.
Right.
So Kansas will be in the process of having their commercial program adopted. In May last year, we have a Kansas law that says we're going to have a commercial program, and the KDA would come out with those rules. And earlier this year, they gave us some guidance as to what those would look like.
Okay.
So we'll start with the research program and the applications here in November. Those licenses will be granted and people will start operating going into next year. And then at some point in time, our Kansas commercial program might be adopted, might be allowed.
Okay.
And at that point in time, those research licenses, as I understand it, will start to become commercial licenses at the licensee's request. So that will cut down some of the red tape involved. And make it just a little bit easier to operate. So, like I said, there's a gelling. We're seeing testing start to be more standardized. The way Kansas tested the crop this year will be very much like what we'll see in the future, but we'll see more and more gelling. And we will always, I shouldn't say always, but going into this coming year, we'll still have background checks. That's something that some other states don't have.
Gotcha.
But it requires anybody who's in our fields or production facilities to be fingerprinted and background checked.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If I own a farm, does everybody that's going to work in my farm need to be fingerprinted and tested?
Everybody that's going to work in your hemp research area. So if you have a farm that's growing soybeans and corn and wheat, and there's a field that's growing hemp, if someone will enter that hemp area or the barn in which hemp is stored or the greenhouse in which clones are grown or seedlings are grown, that person does have to be background checked, fingerprinted, and be a card-carrying licensee.
Wow.
Have to have that license with them at all times. However, to work in the soybean or corn section, they don't.
Okay, so, but if they're even going to step near the industrial hemp area, they better already be included in my application.
Absolutely. Yep. And so to receive that approval on your background check, you cannot have had a felony drug conviction in the last 5 years.
Okay.
And you have to be over 10 years old because that's what it takes to be fingerprinted in Kansas.
Oh, okay. So let me ask you a question. I mean, the people that are currently contemplating growing hemp or manufacturing hemp, we have these special licenses, are thinking about processing hemp. Should we be worried that my application's not yet done? Or
I wouldn't wait too long. First of all, we found in the first round that people that became clients of ours that processed their application themselves often had issues we had to come back and deal with later.
Okay.
So a modification, maybe their field wasn't identified correctly, maybe they had planted something they hadn't identified, maybe not everyone was licensed correctly, maybe they really needed to be a distributor and a grower. So for that reason, I highly recommend that you have a law firm that is dealing with a lot of hemp work with you on your license application, even if it's just consulting and you go forth and do it yourself, to really have a conversation about what your activities will be. And because it's hard to do everybody's on the last day, fingerprint everyone around the holidays, I think probably this week and the start of next week is go time.
Okay. Question. I had a hemp license for 2019. Do I need to re-up the application?
You do. Yours expires January 31st. And you also have to make sure your research report is in now or very soon, and then your harvest report should be in 30 days after your harvest. So if you're having any questions on finalizing your research report, or what do I do if I don't know where I'm going to process, something like that, please let us know.
Okay.
Also, if you're a grower and you're just having trouble deciding what processing option is right for you, we're not going to recommend one processor over another, but we have surveyed the processors in Kansas and some in Colorado. We can absolutely speak to tolling agreements, purchasing, buying mass, splits, because this isn't a commodities market. When you're a grower and you're going to a processor, it's definitely relationship based. So we want to make sure that those obligations, the liabilities, your payments are all recorded in a contract.
Okay. Good questions. I feel like this field is a bit legal heavy, as in it's kind of a minefield. There's some federal laws, there's some state laws. What do you think? I mean, how long is it? Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a lot like where we probably were coming out of Prohibition earlier in our country's history, in that the rules are being made, the good actors and bad actors are being identified. We talk about it as the Wild Wild West. We have stories of people sending crops to be processed, never getting paid. We have stories about harvests that blow away on the highway because the harvest methods were inadequate for the climate, those sorts of things.
Okay.
So there's risks. There's risks that investors want to be a part of. It's a tech stock in many ways.
Right.
So part of what we do is match investors who aren't necessarily farmers and want to be hands-on to the market, and we can try to help put those business organizations together as well.
Well, I certainly think that if I was working in the area of hemp, I would want you to help me. So if I wanted to contact you, if I wanted Lisa Ward to be my hemp lawyer, what do I need to do?
Well, our firm can be reached by phone, of course, 785-776-2000.
Yeah.
You can reach me by email. It's Lisa, Lisa, at Adair Thurston. I'm sure we'll post that on our page.
Yep.
Or you can reach us through Facebook message. We don't give advice through Facebook message, obviously.
Right.
We give advice to our clients who retain us, but we can spell out what services we can provide. And more than anything, we want to know what it is that you're doing and try to spot issues for you, whether that is trademark or patent or business organization or banking. Do you know that banks can't loan on hemp right now?
I did not.
It's
I would
coming.
assume
Credit
federal
unions
law.
can, but not everyone in Kansas is doing it. But we can absolutely help. Not all credit cards are processing hemp products yet either.
Wow.
So it really is moving along, but we can share the best information that we have and how you might try to position yourself to get through those challenges.
Seems like knowing the right people is a large part of the battle in this area right now.
We've sure learned a lot this year, and we want to continue to do that.
Lisa, thank you so much for being with me today. I have learned so much about industrial hemp that I did not know, and I've been working beside you. I should be embarrassed.
No, not at all.
Next week, we are going to be doing a Facebook Live program at 4:30, just like today. It will be on affidavit of support, which is an immigration topic, Lisa.
Oh, that's excellent.
I'm excited about it. It's one of my bailiwicks, and so I'm excited to share what I know, because I've so far been sharing a lot of what everyone else knows.
No, that's exciting. Is that a good topic for employers, for family members?
It's mostly for family members.
Perfect.
Family members have to financially sponsor other individuals in their family who they want to get legal statuses. But I'm excited to talk about it. Then after that, you will join us back up. Again, I remind you that Lisa is so intelligent in so many areas: estate planning, business and corporate formation. And those are two topics that she will hit in the coming weeks. Estate planning and corporate formation, end of year planning for all of you business gurus.
Yes,
she's the person to talk to. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you guys. Bye-bye.